Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum viewers. Muhammad Nazim with the 28th lecture. You already know that we are talking about the various elements which we have to be familiar with to make our writing effective. Aaj jab main, when I was thinking what I'm going to talk to you specifically in this very lecture, then one question surfaced in my mind. I said, since I always communicate with my audience, like when I'm communicating with you, I have to keep in mind exactly what my listener is thinking. तो एक क्वेश्चन मेरे जहन में उठा और मैंने सोचा कि before I start my lecture, I must talk to them on this very issue, that my listener, my viewer, must be thinking that why I am spending so much time on talking about the various elements which I am emphasizing are required for effective business writing. Why don't I straight away go to the specimens of various writing skills and demonstrate to you that this is the way you should be writing? I'm sure आपके दिमाग में ये सवाल उठता होगा कि perhaps what I'm talking about is unnecessary. It's superfluous. But no, it's not. I have already spent 2 lectures with you talking about the elements. सबसे पहले लेक्चर में मैंने courtesy के ऊपर इतना फोकस किया. I talked to you, I gave you examples, I told you what you have to incorporate before start writing. अपनी thought process में, अपनी attitude में आपने क्या क्या changes लानी है. So, courtesy पे मैंने इतना फोकस किया. Last lecture में मैंने आपको और 3 चीजें थी elements जिनके ऊपर मैंने फोकस किया कि correctness के ऊपर, conciseness के ऊपर, clarity के ऊपर. मैंने इसके ऊपर भी फोकस किया. आज मैं 2 और एलिमेंट्स पे आपसे बात करूंगा, लेकिन उससे पहले एक चीज पे मैं आपका मेन फोकस करना चाहता हूं, और वो ये है कि मैं इन एलिमेंट्स के ऊपर इतना एम्फेसिस क्यों लेकर रहा हूं. द रीजन बीइंग, आई राइट फ्रॉम द स्टार्ट want you to bring an attitudinal change. I want you that you start thinking. आपका frame of mind, frame of reference शुरू से ही ऐसा हो कि आप you align yourself with the reader. And the reader's alignment comes when you exactly incorporate the various elements which support the reader attitude, reader's expectations, reader's viewpoints. That's the reason मैं आज भी इसी टॉपिक के ऊपर I'm going to talk to you about. Therefore, I would like that जो elements मैं आपके साथ डिस्कस कर रहा हूं, आप उनको superfluous ना समझें, और if you could put greater attention and focus at this very stage, it will be helpful in your future writing. Keep in mind, आगे चल के मैं आपको बताऊंगा कि organization or preparation is important for any activity, just like we did in the oral communication. So therefore, elements for effective writing need to be fairly focused at. So therefore, quickly let me recapitulate the 3 elements which I talked about in my last lecture. Remember? Are you sure that you went through those things before coming for this lecture today? If not, please in future, मेरे नए lectures को सुनने से पहले please past lectures को थोड़ा सा revise कर लीजिए करें, और उनकी जो भी salient features, salient points हैं, वो दिमाग में रख कर उनको freshen up करके फिर we should be proceeding further. Last lecture में मैंने फोकस किया था correctness पे, conciseness पे और clarity पे. Let's quickly just sum up what I said. I said to you that correctness of the writing is important. factual reporting. Of course, format की मैंने बात की, लेकिन main focus, you remember, I said to you, on the level of writing. Because if the level of writing is not according to what the reader could understand, then there's no point in putting a lot of effort in your writing. You have to exactly know what is the level of the writing of your reader. I know it's a difficult exercise. I know it's not easy for you to exactly know. But in your mind, you have to focus कि ये मेरा letter is for those readers who have got this much level of understanding of my language, of the substance of the message I'm writing. Accordingly, आज भी मैं बात करूंगा उसी aspect के ऊपर, कितना टेक्निकल उसको होना चाहिए, कितनी इंफॉर्मेशन उसके अंदर होनी चाहिए, लैंग्वेज वर्डिंग्स कैसी हैं, फॉर्मल है, इनफॉर्मल है. That's what I mentioned in my last lecture. And remember, the gist was that it's always best to write in an informal style, conversational style, because the ultimate message is to let your reader act upon, to let your reader be persuaded. So that's why conversational style was what I specifically mentioned to you in my last lecture. Also, I said to you that your expression should not be very wordy expression. आपने उसके अंदर बहुत superfluous words नहीं डालने. It has to be to the point, because the reader doesn't have much time. Likewise, you should as well be very careful on spending too much activity, too much time on things which perhaps the reader would not like to see or to read. मैंने conciseness पे, and lastly मैंने clarity पे focus किया. Message should be clear. उसके अंदर जो actually message आपने देना है should be coming out of your writing. Superfluous writing होगी तो main message would be somewhere hidden. It should be buried in the superfluous language. So concise होगी, और अगर expressions are not wordy, then the main message will come out of your writing. So that's where I focused during my last lecture. आज I will be talking to you specifically about concreteness and completeness. These would be the last two elements, और उसके बाद we'll be finishing with the elements and proceed further. Let's talk about the concreteness. आपके दिमाग में क्या चीज आती है when we talk of concreteness? Think over it. That is, when your message is concrete, that means you are writing according to the needs of the reader. You are not indulging in superfluous writing and giving your reader something which he or she is not able to decipher, not able to distinguish. That means generalized writing nahi. Vivid, clear. You have to make a specific reference to person, places, objects, actions. आपकी writing में generalized ना हो. What to do, where to go, whom to approach. This is being concrete. This is being specific and not general. When you are general, जब आपकी writing में style general होगा, it'll be vague. Somebody asks you when to come, sometimes next week. This is a vague answer. And if you put it in your writing, it's not being specific. So you have not to make general reference, but specific reference to what your reader demands. Communicating concretely means vivid rather than vague. Let me give you an example. Supposing you are a human resource manager and you are going to advertise for a post where you have got in mind that perhaps you would like to entertain more applications from the female gender. आपका focus ये है कि you would be preferring female candidates to come for the interview rather than male candidates. अब अगर आप उस एडवर्टाइजमेंट में you put that female candidates are preferred over male, then this is not very concrete condition, because it will give different connotations to the reader. What does female means? Does it mean married, unmarried, widow, spinster, maiden? क्या है? कितने connotations हैं female के? But you have to be specific. Likewise, that we are looking for unmarried females, age factor जो भी है. But if you say female, then you are confusing your reader. That's why when we talk about the concreteness, we want that specifically आप अपनी writing के अंदर clear उसको reader को message दीजिए, so that he or she is not confused. Mind it, to make your writing concrete, you should keep in mind 3 things. Include as much specific information as possible. Also, use active verbs. Active voice इस्तेमाल करें rather than passive voice. And the third, use vivid image building words. आप अगर ये तीनों एस्पेक्ट्स जहन में रखेंगे, आपकी ऑटोमेटिकली राइटिंग में कंक्रीटनेस आ जाएगी. आप मुझसे पूछेंगे कि why do you really need keeping these things? Because if you do not keep these things, then the reader would not have a clear concept. The message would not be clear. Let's look at the first, as I said to you, include as much specific information as possible. Give you an example. Like you say, she is a fast typist. Now, what does fast typist mean? This is a general statement. It is not clear. Instead of writing this, that she is a fast typist, if you could change it to, she types at the rate of 80 words per minute. This is where you have become concrete. अगर आपसे कोई पूछे, supposing you are a teacher, कि मेरा बच्चा कैसा है, और आप कहें, oh, he is very good. He is very good in the class. This is vague. You're not being concrete. But if you tell that your child stands at this position in the class, you're concrete. अगर आप ये statement दें that he got a good score in his MBA program, this is a vague statement. This is not clear. Now I want to bring concreteness in this statement. How do I do it? I'll change it, and change it in this way. His GPA in 2000 was 3.9 on a 4-point scale. Complete information. Okay? So keep in mind कि आपने जब भी कोई स्टेटमेंट देनी है, लिखनी है, बोलना है, तो कॉन्क्रीटनेस के एलिमेंट को आप कैसे जहन में रखकर आप उसे प्रैक्टिस करेंगे. Some of the vague opinion words are high, low, small, a few, several, majority, old. हम everyday life में ये words इस्तेमाल करते हैं. He is very old. She is very young. Intelligent. Very small. Not in the writings. Because writing में you do not have a chance to explain. So therefore, ये सारे words जो आपको मैंने स्क्रीन पे दिखाए हैं, इनको आप अपनी vocabulary में से eliminate कर दें. Eliminate in the sense that where you need that these words will confuse your reader, don't choose them. But certainly there would be places, there would be occasions where you would have to use them. वो मैं आपको बताऊंगा कि आप कहाँ इनको आपने इस्तेमाल करना है. जैसे मैंने कहा कि eliminate कर दो for the time being, but there would be places where you would have to use words, general words, rather than being specific. Mind it, I said to you that you have to be courteous. आप कभी किसी सिचुएशन पे ये महसूस करें कि when you are concrete, when you are specific, it might hurt somebody. Then only you should use general. आइए हम देखें कि हम जनरल अपनी स्टेटमेंट को कैसे बनाएंगे, कैसे वर्ड्स यूज करेंगे विच आर जनरल ओनली व्हेन इट इज नॉट पॉसिबल टू बी स्पेसिफिक. हम अपने वर्ड्स को जनरल वर्ड्स यूज करेंगे rather than being concrete, rather than specific, because when we do not want to be specific, like, look, you may not have the precise figures or facts, so you will like to be not very concrete. Supposing you are having an agreement with somebody, you want to enter into a business partnership with somebody, and you say, okay, I'll give you the maximum share out of the profit we make. Here you do not exactly know how much profit you would make. आप ये नहीं कह सकते कि मैं 50% दूंगा, 60% दूंगा, 70%. You are not sure. You do not have the exact figures. So it is permissible at such a situation that you make a general statement. ऐसी situation पे you can avoid being concrete. Second stage, second position where you can use general statements without being concrete and specific, when you wish to be diplomatic. You can avoid being specific and concrete when you think you might appear rude, harsh. Like if you say to somebody that you missed 3 of my invitations to come to my office. Now this is being harsh, rude. On the other hand, you can be diplomatic and say, I sent you several invitations to come to my office, to meet me. Now this is being polite, diplomatic, courteous. इसी तरह से आप जब भी राइटिंग्स में ये महसूस करें कि आप किसी बंदे के साथ इस तरह से स्ट्रेट फॉरवर्ड, स्पेसिफिकली, ट्रूथफुली बता दें कि मैंने आपको इतनी दफा फोन किया, you didn't respond, people. You can use general statement. Likewise in writing too, avoid being specific, concrete, where you think that the other person might feel offended or hurt, or it may be rude. So here you can use general words. आपकी writing में you don't have to be specific, vivid, or concrete. Third situation where you can again be very general rather than being specific is when exact figures are unimportant. Like more than half the committee was present. यहां आपको बताने की ये जरूरत नहीं कि 15 में से 10 बंदे कमेटी मेंबर्स आए हुए थे. More than half. This is enough. So, ऐसी सिचुएशन में आपको फिगर्स देने की जरूरत नहीं. I said to you, the second situation where you can bring concreteness into your messages, that you use active rather than passive words. Now, active verbs, yeah, active voice, help make your sentence more specific, more personal, more concise, more emphatic. अब देखिए एक्टिव और पैसिव वॉइस को आप कैसे इफेक्टिवली यूज कर सकते हैं. लेट्स लुक एट द एग्जांपल व्हेन यू वांट टू बी स्पेसिफिक एंड you would be using active voice. The dean decided is more explicit rather than if you say a decision has been made. आप कहें कि a letter was sent to you. Now here you're not being specific. When you say that, or a letter was sent to you by me or by my colleague, by my subordinate. So here you're not being specific. आप यहां आपने पैसिव वॉइस इस्तेमाल की है. अगर आप ये कहें कि माई कलीग सेंट यू अ लेटर, आई सेंट यू अ लेटर, स्पेसिफिक, एक्टिव वॉइस, तो यहां आपको एक्टिव वॉइस ज्यादा इफेक्टिव होगी रादर देन वेग स्टेटमेंट. नाउ to personalize the statement, you will note, now here you will note is more personal and specific rather than saying it will be noted. You understand? आपने जब किसी चीज को emphasize करना है, इसको हाईलाइट करना है, use active voice, active verb. Third, when I say you can be concise, you can be brief, you have to use less words. Let's see the example. Figure shows. अब अगर इसको मैं, this is an active verb, active voice. अब अगर मैं इसको passive voice में लिखूं तो ये होगा it's shown by figure. देखिए, you are using 5 words instead of 2 words. So आप active voice इस्तेमाल करने से conciseness ला सकते हैं. And to be emphatic, very good example. Passive words, they dull the action. Now compare these two sentences. The students held a contest. इसको आप compare करें. A contest was held by the students. Now here a contest was held by the students. इसमें emphasis नहीं है. The emphasis is on the student. The students held a contest. So therefore, when you are using active voice, when you are using active verbs, you are putting life. You are putting emphasis. You are putting it action oriented. आपकी स्टेटमेंट ज्यादा, जैसे मैंने पहली एग्जांपल में कहा था, कभी कभी you have to have exceptions. That sometimes, however, you may have to use the passive rather than the active verbs. Now, वो कौन सी situations हैं? Such situations are when you want to avoid personal blunt accusations. आप कोई comment नहीं देना चाहते. Like, the October check was not included. Here, it's a passive statement rather than saying you failed to include the check. You're not being courteous. You're not being polite. तो अब politeness include करने के लिए, politeness incorporate करने के लिए passive voice, passive verb use कीजिए. Attendance at the meeting is required rather than saying you must attend. Now you say you must attend may sound rude. So attendance is required. Being polite. अब देखिए यहां पहले मैंने आपको कहा कि एक्टिव वॉइस इस्तेमाल कीजिए. अब मैं ये कह रहा हूं कि सिचुएशन माइंड इट इन राइटिंग देयर कैन नॉट बी अ हार्ड एंड फास्ट रूल. आगे चल के मैं आपको बताऊंगा कि आपने रीडर को कैसे जहन में रखना है और कैसे सिचुएशन में आपने अपनी राइटिंग को चेंज करना है. तो जहां हमारा फोकस एक्टिव वॉइस पे है, वहां कुछ ऐसी सिचुएशंस भी होंगी जहां वी वुड लाइक टू यूज पैसिव सेंस, पैसिव वर्ब्स. Another situation when you want to stress the object of the action. For example, your saving account is insured up to 100,000 rupees. Now, you have intentionally stressed on your account. आपने ये नहीं कहा कि किसने इंश्योर किया, but you say your account. तो यहां focus, using it, passive verb. You are invited is better than we invite you. देखिए, we invite you के बजाय अगर आप लिखें you are invited, you are giving importance to the person. So, passive voice adds to the style, effectivity of your writing. Third situation where you can use the passive verb is when the doer isn't important in the sentence. Like, 3 announcements were made before the meeting started. अब आप, here, the emphasis is on the announcement and not who gave the order, who made the announcement. 3 announcements were made. Like situations like this, you can deviate from the rule which I explained to you that you prefer using active. मगर ऐसे situations में आप देखिए कि अगर doer important नहीं है, आपने object के ऊपर focus करना है, you can use the passive voice. Now, the third aspect which is said would add concreteness to your statement is use vivid image building words. Let me straight away give you a good example which will pretty make it clear to you that kaun se image building words. If you are reporting to somebody your comments about a report and you say this report is weak, the statement is very vague. Iske andar concreteness nahi hai. On the other hand, if you change it to the following flaws weaken the quality of this report and you start naming One, the numerous grammatic errors, the inaccurate information that is presented, and the absence of feasible recommendations. अब now, आपने कैसे elaborate करके बता दिया है कि the report is weak because of these omissions, because of these errors, rather than simply making a statement, the report is weak. आपने image building, forceful action words इसके अंदर आपने डाले. Supposing you say, this is a long letter, not very clear. It doesn't reflect anything. If you change it to, the letter is 3 times as long as you said it would be. Concreteness. तो मैं इस वक्त जब concreteness के element को sum up करूं तो मैं यही कहूंगा कि ये सारे जो points मैंने आपको बताए हैं, you must keep these aspects in your mind, and whenever you think of being concrete, practice these things, and certainly आपकी writing will be effective in terms of being concrete. Talking about the last element, completeness. When you think of completeness, क्या चीज आपके जहन में फौरन आती? Of course, कि आपकी राइटिंग में जो इंफॉर्मेशन रीडर को रिक्वायर्ड है वो मौजूद है कि नहीं, फैक्ट्स और फिगर्स हैं कि नहीं, और तीसरी चीज कि जो कुछ लिखा है वो रीडर अंडरस्टैंड कर सकता है कि नहीं. दैट्स व्हाई द मैसेज वुड बी कंप्लीटली ट्रांसमिटेड. एक चीज मैंने ओरल कम्युनिकेशन में भी आपको कही थी और यहां भी वो अप्लाई होगी. सेंडर और रिसीवर डिफर इन देयर मेंटल फिल्टर्स. मेरे और आपके मेंटल फिल्टर्स में भी फर्क है. मैं कुछ चीजों को और पैराए में देखता हूं, आप कुछ और एंगल से देखते हैं, और उनके रीजंस मैंने आपको पहले बताए. मेरे और आपकी एक्सपेक्टेशंस में फर्क है, मेरे और आपके व्यू पॉइंट्स में फर्क है, हमारी नीड्स डिफरेंट है, हमारी विशेस डिफरेंट है. इस वक्त आप बैठे मुझे सुन रहे हैं, यू गॉट अ डिफरेंट विश, परहैप्स कि यार ये जल्दी से खत्म करे, क्या स्ट्रेसिंग ऑन द सेम थिंग अगेन एंड अगेन. और मेरी विश ये है, मेरी डिजायर ये है कि मैं जितना एम्फेसिस, जितना डिटेल में इनको इस वक्त बता सकूं, इट विल बी हेल्पफुल फॉर देम इन द फ्यूचर. हमारे मेंटल फिल्टर्स डिफरेंट है. सो कीप इन माइंड व्हेन यू राइट, मेंटल फिल्टर्स विल डिसाइड कितनी इंफॉर्मेशन आपने अपने मैसेज में देनी है, ताकि द रीडर डजंट गेट बोर्ड, डजंट गेट annoyed, keeps attracted to your message. इन मेंटल फिल्टर्स को आप कैसे completeness, you have to see to it that you give the desired, the required information, the message which is receptive to your reader. अगर आप अपना मैसेज कंप्लीट ट्रांसफर नहीं करेंगे तो क्या होगा? लेट्स टॉक अबाउट दैट फर्स्ट. बेसिकली, right from the start, you and I know that incomplete messages incur some cost. It incurs cost, both cost to you, cost to me as well. Supposing I am writing on behalf of my organization, it will cost me much more. It will cost you in the sense that perhaps you will have to write number of times. You might have to visit my office a couple of times. But ultimately, it's a loss of the organization. And that is why, if you are in a position that you are dealing with your customer, keep in mind the first most important thing, and that is the loss of goodwill. When I say loss of goodwill, I mean that my organization, the organization I'm representing, has a repute, has an image, and if I am not providing complete information to my client, my customer, somewhere, sometime in the future, it is going to affect my image, the organization of my company, and ultimately it will result in the form of loss of revenue. आपको एक practical example बताऊं, and which will demonstrate कि sometimes while advertising we ignore few things. And of course, when I say advertising, there the whole aspect of skillful writing comes in. Me and my wife, we are both in a habit of going and eating out frequently. There was a new restaurant open up, and we went there once. We enjoyed the food, and we thought that we'll visit that restaurant again. Next time, while we were passing that restaurant and we had no mood to eat in that restaurant, suddenly we saw a banner over there that second visit, 50% off. Oh, we really got excited. We thought, okay, might as well avail the opportunity, and this is going to be our second visit. We went inside the restaurant and said, this is our second visit, and we want to avail the 50% off facility. And you know the answer we got was, this is not for all the customers. This is only for specialized customers who are carrying this specific card of this very special bank. We were completely put off. I said, look, this is what the banner reads. And when we pointed out, the manager said, yes, we understand. Wrong message. The information is not complete, but not our fault. I said, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter whose fault it is. What matters is, we are not going to come to your restaurant again. We were certainly not entertained. We were not given that facility, but that restaurant lost the image. Mind it, आप जब कभी ऐसी पोजीशन में हो जहां आपने बिलबोर्ड डिजाइन करना है, कोई एडवर्टाइजमेंट देना है, see to it, what does your customer feel when you put up such things. आपने देखा होगा, buy one, get one free. कभी ये हो सकता है कि आप एक गाड़ी खरीदें और दूसरी गाड़ी आपको फ्री मिल जाए? Not possible. But if you advertise that way, you are not giving complete information to your customer and you are just trying to hoodwink. आप उनको किसी तरीके से आपकी approach ही है, then your customer feels that by not providing complete information, you are cheating your client, your prospective customers. So therefore, keep in mind that completeness very clearly focuses on establishing the goodwill. दूसरा aspect completeness का इसलिए भी जरूरी है कि there is a possibility that you might lose your valued customer if you do not give the complete information. What is a valued customer? Valued customer वो है जिसका आपके साथ, आपकी ऑर्गेनाइजेशन के साथ और पर्सनली आपके साथ एक ट्रस्ट एस्टैब्लिश हो जाता है. The client, the customer knows that the organization I'm dealing with gives me correct, factual, complete information, takes care of my concerns, takes care of my time. मुझे bother करने की जरूरत नहीं. Just pick up a phone and I can get the things done. But if your client, your customer has to unnecessarily make repeated calls और उसे कोई information के लिए आपको access करने के लिए काफी वक्त, your customer will get annoyed. And remember, it's a very important thing that your customer stays with you. Customer को sustain करना ही is the art, and that is when you provide them complete information right in the first go. Third aspect, which reveals that complete information is important, because if you do not provide complete information in your correspondence right the first time, there's a possibility of loss of sales. किस वजह से? Of course, repeated calls, visits, or over and above, lawsuits. आपने अपने कस्टमर को पूरी इंफॉर्मेशन नहीं दी, उसको नहीं बताया कि मेरे प्रोडक्ट के ये एट्रीब्यूट्स हैं. आप supposing it's a very expensive thing, he or she buys, it doesn't work, warranty period में वो replacement, go to the court. Other than affecting your goodwill, reputation, it will involve expenditure or lawsuit से loss of revenue, loss of sale, brings bad name. Then the fourth aspect is waste of time. कैसे? आपने अपने पहले कॉरेस्पॉन्डेंस में, पहले मैसेज में इंफॉर्मेशन पूरी नहीं दी. आप रिमेंबर कि आपने पहला ड्राफ्ट किया था, आपने बॉस ने देखा, रिजेक्ट किया 2-3 times. It is never easy. And a message does not come quickly. It goes to different hands. In a professional organization, in large corporations, before a letter is posted, it passes through various hands. And it costs money. Once one letter which is posted, it has been estimated in the large corporations, and I'm going to quote in terms of dollars because this is by the multinational organizations, that roughly one single letter coming out of a large corporation costs within the range of $80 to $90. It costs so much. और अगर आपने उस लेटर के अंदर पूरी इंफॉर्मेशन नहीं दी, and it is followed up by 3 or 4 letters, look, cost कहाँ चली जाती. Remember, likewise, in our organizations too, हमारी organizations में अगर we overlook this aspect, somewhere there's a hidden cost जो हमारे सामने नहीं आ रही और हम उसके ऊपर फोकस नहीं कर रहे. So अगर आप complete information दे देंगे तो you can save that revenue. And the last aspect is that communication, transportation costs भी. आपका merchandise जो आपने बेच दिया है, हो सकता है कि आपका जो क्लाइंट है, कस्टमर है, आपको वापस भेज दे और कहे you pay for the cost, transportation cost. And that is going to affect your again reputation and at the same time your revenue, your profits. Keeping this in mind, we now therefore come to the conclusion that the best way to determine if you have provided enough information is by answering questions which should emerge in your mind once you have written the message. That is how? By asking 5 questions, 5 W's. Who, what, when, where and why. अगर आपने जो भी कुछ लिखा है, ये 5 words, 5 W's you try to find the answers to these 5 W's, you will see that your message would be complete. Or 6th जो है, and that is how, 5 W's and 1 H. Good formula for you to see that you have given sufficient enough material which is required. आइए कुछ example देते हैं. In order to provide all information, as I said, let's apply the 5W formula. Supposing you request for a merchandise. You are writing a letter. You want 3, 4, 5 shirts. And you write a letter to your favorite store that please send me 5 shirts. अब देखिए मैं 5 W's कैसे apply करूंगा. First W, what do you want? 5 shirts. कैसी? किस कलर की? Cotton, polyester, half sleeve, full sleeve, वगैरह वगैरह. All attributes for the shirts. Answer, put in complete information by answering the question, what? Then, when do you want? When do you want those shirts to be delivered? Second W, अपने लेटर में इसका भी जवाब दें. Third, where to send? कहाँ भेजनी है? आपके ऑफिस में, आपके घर में, or supposing you are traveling, you want your shirts to be sent to you at the new place where you're visiting. How would you be paying? तो मैंने 5 W's में से 3 W's के क्वेश्चन दे दिए और मैंने यहाँ complete information by applying this formula. Take another example. Supposing you are reserving a room or a banquet hall in a hotel. आप वहां कैसे यही फॉर्मूला है. फर्स्ट, specifically mention what is required. What do you want? How many rooms you want? And what for? आपने हॉल शादी के लिए, कॉन्फ्रेंस के लिए, मीटिंग के लिए specifically mentioned. What for you want? What? Location. Where do you want to hold that conference? Near the pool side? 7th floor? 6th floor? कहाँ? That is what you have to. Sponsoring agency. Who is organizing this? That's what you have to answer. Date and time. When? अब देखिए इनमें से कोई भी एलिमेंट अगर मिसिंग है, information is not complete. Event क्या है? Why do you want to book a hall? They want to know it. And further details. How would you pay? Keep in mind, very easy. 5 W's, 1 H. Apply कीजिए. Answer to how you can give the complete information. Second aspect, पहले तो मैंने कहा कि information applying the 5 W's. Second aspect is answer all questions asked. देखिए ये बहुत आसान है कि आपको if you are replying to a letter you have received, then one by one आप उनके मार्जिन में मार्जिन लेटर जो आपने रिसीव किया है वहां लिख दें कि this is the point you need to answer. Whenever you reply to an inquiry, try to answer all questions. Questions which are stated, questions which are implied. Sometimes your sender जिसने आप इंक्वायरी आपसे मांगी है या कोई रिक्वेस्ट की है, he or she doesn't know exactly what to ask for. तो कुछ क्वेश्चंस वो पूछ लेगा, कुछ क्वेश्चंस नहीं पूछेगा. तो स्टेटेड क्वेश्चंस को आंसर करना बड़ा आसान, but there must be certain implied questions which are not clearly worded. So that is very important. Keep in mind, if you are omitting certain questions and you do not reply, then your client would not be very happy. Be very suspicious, because omissions to certain questions would create doubt in the mind कि आप deliberately avoid कर रहे हैं. You are hiding something. Omissions cast suspicion. If you have the information, do provide. If you don't have the information, say frankly that the information is not available. But answer all the questions in the query or in the letter which you have received. But do not intentionally omit any question. कोई question unanswered ना छोड़िए. Again, when you are answering, as I said, sometimes आपका customer, आपका client, उसको पता नहीं होता कि मैंने क्या questions पूछने. It's always good to give something extra. Another element which is very important. Supposing I receive a letter from one of my friends, and the letter reads that I'll be visiting your country next week. Since we have not met for a long time, I would like to know where could we meet. Now this is a very interesting scenario. The question asked is only where could we meet. अगर मैं इसका यही जवाब दे दूं कि well, when you arrive in my country, then you can ring up at this number and then we will decide, this is incomplete. As a matter of fact, मेरे दोस्त ने भी incomplete letter लिखा है, but somehow he for certain reason evaded to ask for more information. But then it is for me to tell that, look, you are coming next week, I am available on such and such day at this time in my office or at home. Specifically mention where to come, how to come. अगर वो खुद ड्राइव कर रहा है, पार्किंग फैसिलिटी है कि नहीं, give complete information. So give something extra. आप जब when you are dealing with your clients, with your customers, and you answer more than when they are asking for, your client, your customer feels happy that you are a caring, person. You exactly know, you understand your customer, your client. Another incomplete inquiry. I have not received any reply to my last letter where I requested for an interview. Kindly expedite. अब ये देखिए, सपोजिंग आपने अपना कहीं CV भेजा, you requested for an interview, और you didn't get any answer, और आप ये 2 sentences लिख कर भेज देते हैं. It'll really be putting off the person who receives this letter, because there is not sufficient information. When was the letter written? To whom was it sent? What is the interview you're talking about? Are you talking the interview for a job? कोई complaint है? कोई inquiry है? These things are important. Keep in mind कि आप जब भी लिखें, इन चीज़ों को अपने जहन में रखें. And once you start thinking in this fashion, start incorporating all these elements in your thoughts, when you are composing your letter, you will see to it that you have contributed to all the various elements which in return would give effectiveness to your writing. Let me summarize it, क्योंकि I have today completed a list of 6 very important elements, जिसके बारे में मैंने शुरू से ही आपको कहा कि I am preparing the groundwork for taking you further on to how to start preparing for effective business writing. ये मैंने अभी सिर्फ प्लेटफॉर्म तैयार किया है. Remember, जैसे मैं कहा था कि a platform where from the speaker comes and speak. Likewise here, you have now virtually prepared yourself with the various elements, जिसके बाद next lecture में I'm going to talk to you about the preparation of the writing. तो ये जो 6 elements, and specifically the 2 elements about which I talked to you today, concreteness and second, completeness, इनको आप, अगर आपने मेरे वेरियस पॉइंट्स जो कि मैंने आज एलैबोरेट किए हैं, नोट डाउन कर लिए हैं, तो मैं लेट मी क्विकली sum those elements up so that don't miss these, especially the 5 important things which I mentioned to you, that why is completeness so important. वो ये कि आप, I'm sure one day you will be at a position where you will be doing a lot of business writing. You must keep the elements in mind, but over and above the important element of completeness, because I specifically, मैंने बहुत time उसके ऊपर लगाया, and I mentioned to you by giving you examples that if you omit certain things and you do not give complete information, then loss of revenue, loss of customer, loss of goodwill, loss of image, loss of prestige, also professionalism का जो बहुत बड़ा image है, वो आपको you'll be missing that part. याद रहे कि मैंने आपको मेंशन किया था कि मैं बहुत important चीज़ जो अटैच करता हूँ whenever I invite people or whenever I receive letters in the form of jobs, seeking jobs, I look at whether the information is complete or not. Whether complete in the sense that whatever I desire is over there on the paper or not. If it is missing, then I have an impression that the person is lacking in professionalism. Likewise, when I communicate, when I correspond with people, I keep in mind that what is reflected through my writing is the professionalism. When you write for an organization, you are not only risking your personal professional approach, but as well the organization you are working for or working with. Therefore, keep in mind all these elements, and especially the two elements which I mentioned to you today, concreteness and completeness. I would like that you go through these elements very carefully, and keep in mind that आज के बाद मैं आगे जितने lectures दूंगा, I'll be of course giving you lots of examples of ineffective writings and effective writings. वहाँ मैं यही aspects बार बार repeat करूँगा. I will be showing to you that this aspect was missing, and especially 5 W's. 5 W's यहाँ ये element miss था. Whom to approach, whom to reach to, when to write, where to go, who, what, when, where, why. 5 W's, very important for you. I hope that you will very carefully go through these elements and remember them by heart and start practicing them in your writing. Inshallah, in my next lecture, when I talk to you about the preparation, my immediate lecture after this is the preparing for effective business writing. And in that too, I will be focusing on 5 W's and the various elements I talked to you today. Thank you very much. Khuda Hafiz.